Donald Trump has a pudding brain, and I say that for two reasons. The first is it's easy to shape. Donald Trump usually makes his decision based on what the last person he spoke to said to him. It's the reason he wanted to go to war with Iran after watching Fox morning shows. But his brain is also made of pudding because it's obviously falling apart. And he made that pretty clear on Air Force One today during a press conference in which he suffered some very obvious cognitive failures that we are going to get into as they expose just how panicked he is over his agenda. We're going to get into it all, but it starts right here with Donald Trump talking about how he can't make the deals he promised were coming.
But they and others are so spoiled from having ripped us off for 30, 40 years, that it's really hard for them to make a deal. You know, it's very hard. As an example with Japan, they won't take rice, and yet they desperately need rice. You know that. But they won't take rice. They won't take other products that we have. But think of it, they need rice so badly, but they won't take rice. I think that was an easy one. On the cars, as you know, they send out millions. We didn't give them one car in 10 years. They won't take any cars, but they'll sell millions of cars. So we told them, sorry, you can't do that. And we have a great relationship, great reliance, and really a great sort of a partnership in a way. But on trade, they've been very unfair. And those days are gone. So what I'm going to do is I'll write them a letter, say we thank you very much. And we know you can't do the kind of things that we need. And therefore you'll pay a 30%, 35%, or whatever the number is that we determine, because we also have a very big trade deficit with Japan, as you know. And it's very unfair to the American people. So they maybe will be happy, they maybe won't be happy. But some countries we won't even allow to trade. But for the most part, we're going to determine a number, just very simply write them a nice letter, probably one page or a page and a half at the most. And it's going to be essentially congratulations. And it's going to be an honor to allow you to go and do business in the United States of America, because it really is an honor to be able to do that. But we never viewed it that way in this country. And you saw we took in $129 billion in tariffs already. We haven't even started. No inflation. Our country's strong.
There is a certain ignorance that goes along with MAGA. It's also in line with their arrogance. They think they're so smart. They always think they're right. Being in a cult certainly helps with that, but the arrogance hits you pretty hard when you make some pretty big promises. It's what we saw Donald Trump say the other day at the NATO summit when he said, well, I didn't realize making a peace deal with Russia and Ukraine would be so difficult. How could I have known that? I don't know. You could have had experience being a statesman, which you've never been. And Trump saying, oh, well, I don't know. When I promised you 1 billion deals, I didn't realize they'd be that difficult. Maybe it's because you've never been good at making deals. You've never been that great at really communicating clearly either. And as Donald Trump loses support from Republicans because of his disastrous budget, of course, I'm talking about Tom Tillis, who's retiring, he is now trying to plug in more of his own. He's trying to get Laura Trump, his daughter-in-law, to run for that seat. But he kind of screwed her over with his inability to speak right here.
I think the Senate was a very big move, and they worked very hard. I didn't get along with Tillis, and he resigned. That's good. That's a good thing.
Run for that seat, sir. Tom Tillis' seat.
Well, somebody that would really be great is Laura. She grew up there, but they live in Florida. They have a very good life, and they're great people. She did fantastically running the RNC. She's even got a show it's like the #1 show, and Mark Levin is likewise. I mean, they have the #1, #2 show over the weekend. So she's done well. She's a great person, Laura Trump. I mean, that would always be my first choice, but she doesn't live there now. But she's there all the time. Her parents are there,
I don't think he understands how stupid he is. So Laura Trump is obviously going to be carpetbagging, and if she wants to move to North Carolina to run for Senate, she will be moving to North Carolina to run for Senate, right? She's not from there. It's just not the case. It's not where she lives right now. But Donald Trump just gave her opponent a perfect ad. Laura likes living in Florida. I don't know if she'll want to move. Like, does he not realize that? He's an idiot. He's just an idiot. There's no other way to explain it. And he clearly thinks a little differently about his own IQ as he was ranting about Thomas Massey. But take a look at the cognitive moment he suffered when he clearly didn't realize what hat he was wearing. It was a little strange. Just take a look.
I mean, you know, when I oppose somebody, and for some reason the voters, almost always, they seem to go along with me because they know I'm working hard. I have a nice high IQ. They like that, you know. We like high IQ people. But they know I make good decisions. That's why we have that. Trump was right about everything, right? But, you know, I don't like guys like, they just keep saying, no, I vote no, I vote no. There's nothing. Let him do something. Let him get what he wants to vote yes. But if you look at his voting record, it's always against. He's going to have an opponent. He's going to have a big opponent, a good opponent, who's going to win. A poll just came out, and it showed anybody I endorse against Massey loses by 25 points. So he's going to be history, I think.
Now, I don't know if Donald Trump was referencing the hat that says Trump is always right, which is just such a stupid thing to put on a hat and sell and wear yourself. But I think he thought that that's the hat that he had on. We saw him call James Comer Jamie the other day. He's mixing up words and names and phrases and really starting to slur and slow down as things get worse and worse for him publicly. So I don't know if he knows what he's wearing at this point. He just seems confused is kind of my take on it. But the Laura Trump moment enough was a slip up where it's just like the guy is clearly out of it. He doesn't know what he's doing. He is a complete and utter disaster, and he's happy to inflict that upon all of us to serve his billionaire buddies who clearly have control of him. Republicans in the Senate trying to pass the buck are saying that they didn't even read the bill that was read aloud to them, by the way. And I'm sure Donald Trump doesn't care about this agenda as long as his buddies are happy. But Democrats surely do, and one who did a great job calling it out was Jim McGovern. That was right here.
Republicans are holding bipartisan initiatives hostage to provide handouts to billionaires and gut Medicaid and SNAP. Now, meanwhile, the new standards for the child tax credit leaves 1 in every 3 eligible children behind. Because this bill doesn't invest in children, it abandons them. All this, and Republicans are adding more than $3 trillion to the national debt. You hear that? Over $3 trillion. Now, I know some of the Republicans on this committee consider themselves real fiscal hawks. Well, you cannot with a straight face say that you care about deficits and the debt if you vote for this bill, whether that's out of this committee or on the House floor. This bill even raises the debt ceiling by $5 trillion because Republicans know that policies in here will explode our debt. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. This is the biggest transfer of wealth in American history, stealing from the poor to give to the rich. This is Republicans' let them eat cake moment. It robs from the most vulnerable to pay off the already powerful. It tells every kid without wealth, this government has nothing for you, that the American dream is only for trust fund babies. And here's what baffles me. You all know the truth. You all know the truth. You know this bill is cruel. You know that it will hurt millions of Americans. But Trump wants you to fold. And the sad fact is that many of you will fold in a nanosecond. You'll vote for this even though you know it's bad for your own constituents. You're absolutely terrified that the guy in the White House will get mad and try to find someone to run against you in a primary. Like one of our Republican colleagues said this weekend on CNN, and I quote, "Everyone in the House knows the peril they're in if they vote no on this thing. They know that their jobs are at risk," end quote. You're terror-stricken that what happened over the weekend to Senator Tom Tillis will happen to you. Well, Senator Tillis did the right thing, speaking truth to power. You should listen to him when he says that the Senate's version of this bill betrays President Trump's promise not to take Medicaid away from its rightful recipients. He decided to retire because he wanted to put his constituents first, and quite frankly, I think he's tired of dealing with the relentless MAGA threats and BS. Truly, I've never seen anything like this in my life, the kind of petrified fealty we're seeing on the right, scared by a man who called voting against this bill the ultimate betrayal. Like, what kind of president talks like that? That's the language of dictators, not the language of a president. But let me remind you all of something. The people you should be afraid of, betraying are not in the White House or dining at Mar-a-Lago. They're back home. The people in Boone, North Carolina, in Moorhead, Minnesota, in Rock Hill, South Carolina, in Austin, Texas, in Salem, Indiana, in Jamestown, New York, in Tifton, Georgia, in Abington, Virginia, in Noonan, Georgia. They're the ones who hired you. And if you vote for this bill, you're voting to screw them over, plain and simple. When their kids go hungry, when their health care is gone, when their energy bills skyrocket, when they watch big oil rake in profits while they get pink slips, when they realize that billionaires like Jeff Bezos are getting 40 times the tax breaks that they're getting, when they watch the wealthy get richer and they're left behind, they are going to feel the pain that you brought on them. And I think you're going to see that reflected in the next election. The American people are watching. They deserve better than this. They deserve certainly better than this cowardice, better than this cruelty, better than this betrayal. So I'm asking all of you to have a spine, find your moral compass, vote no on this bill, and come up with something better. There's still time. Work with us on tax relief for people who are not making millions and billions of dollars. Let's go back to the drawing board. We can come up with a bipartisan consensus. And so, Madam Chair, for a million reasons, from process to substance, and quite frankly, to give Republican members a chance to read their own bill, I move that the committee do now adjourn.
The more people hear about Donald Trump's budget, the more they hate it. If Democrats don't spend all of our time talking about the betrayal that this bill has been, and will be, it is just a complete failure. We need to drive this home all the time. I have seen nonstop headlines from the corporate media lauding Jeff Bezos' wedding. Oh, they spent $50 million. Look at all the rich people on their boats. First of all, they look stupid. Most of them are poorly dressed. We don't need to do Jack's fashion takes. I didn't like what the Kardashians were wearing. I usually don't. Sorry. But at the same time, as we're cutting Medicaid to give to those people, the tacky boat people, the tacky yacht people, really? It's a joke. Let's make that narrative clear. Let's call it out. We're certainly gonna. I might incorporate some fashion takes soon. I talk about Stephen Miller being poorly dressed. We'll mix it up. I'll think about that. Let me know if you want more of that. If you do, of course, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.